my. I don't think I've ever had this many questions. Good questions. Good evening. Good evening. On Tuesday, April the 5th, voters will go to the polls to choose who will represent them as Stillwater's mayor. In preparations for this election, the Stillwater League of Women Voters are pleased to present this evening's candidates forum. I'm tonight's moderator, Gladys Allred, with the Stillwater League of Women Voters, and this evening we will be hearing from candidates for Mayor of Stillwater. Before I describe the format and the rules, I will introduce the candidates. They are, in alphabetical order, Charles Chuck Hopkins and Gina Noble. To begin the forum, each speaker will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. We will ask questions prepared by the Stillwater League of Women Voters and you, the audience. Only written questions will be accepted. So if you have a question, raise your hand. A league member will bring you a card and a pencil. And questions will be screened by league members for duplication only. But questions should address the issues. So no personal criticism will be accepted. And both candidates may respond to all the questions. The answers will be limited to 90 seconds, and a timer will raise a card when you have 1 minute left and 30 seconds left, and when they hold up the stop sign, then you must stop. The candidates have drawn for opening position, so we will first hear from Dr. Hopkins.
Thank you. I'm Charles, and I go by Chuck Hopkins. I came from Morris, Oklahoma, in Okmulgee County, if anyone wants to know. But I've lived in Stillwater since 1966, so I call this my hometown. It's been a pleasure for me to be here. I've served this city for 6 years on the council. I had always planned on running for mayor, but I got my election stuff mixed up and had to go 2 terms and lay out a year and then try again. So I like serving this community. I want to live here. I want to make it a better place for people to live. And I think that we have some major issues that we need to get taken care of in the city. I have my master's in ag econ, my undergraduate in agriculture education, my doctorate in higher ed administration with emphasis in ag. I want to introduce my wife, Teresa, because I'd be remiss if I didn't, and she's back holding up her hand. And she is naturally a partner that helps me a lot. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, and I don't want to run 2 minutes in the opening statement, except to tell you that there are issues that we're going to address tonight, and I hope you ask questions. And the other thing I want to do is thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. It's very important for the public.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Ms. Noble.
Thank you. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this and for this opportunity. 2 years ago, you elected me to be your voice. And for 2 years, I have sat right up here and been involved with everything, committees and city council, and I have been your voice. I understand the mayor's role, and I know that I can transition seamlessly from city councilor to mayor. City government affects people's lives more than any other form of government. That's why when I make a decision, I think about who it will affect and how it will affect you. I understand that I work for you. Being your voice motivates me. That's why I'm running for mayor. Quality leadership, working relationships are important. And I have a good working relationship with the current city council. We don't always agree, and we shouldn't. But we respect each other, and we work well together. Every decision that I make, I start with the citizens. I'm open-minded, I'm fair-minded, and I'm an independent thinker. I'm a hard worker, and I'm a good listener. I do my homework, and I make informed decisions because I do my homework. I have the motivation, the energy, and the desire to be the next mayor, and I ask for your vote on April 7th.
Okay, thank you. And now we will just get right into it because there are several questions dealing with zoning restrictions for oil and gas. So I will jump right in, and this will go. And I have permission to call you Chuck.
Yes, you do.
And Gina. What is it? This question says, what is your opinion of zoning restrictions for oil and gas drilling near residences? And a related question said, and do you know what economic and job effects would be felt if Stillwater enacted zoning rules that, in effect, ban drilling? So first, it's sort of two-pronged, and this will be your question, Chuck. What is your opinion of zoning restrictions for oil and gas drilling?
I think that the city has a responsibility to determine where the drilling takes place, and there are protected entities that you have to have offsets. I very much support the offsets. There are different classifications that you meet. I think that whatever we do, it needs to be things that are reasonable, and that we need to recognize the fact that we have different kinds of zoning within the city, and there needs to be different kinds of offsets that are available. Drilling is one of the things. I don't know if you realize how many oil wells we already have inside the city of Stillwater. There are numerous oil wells, more than I ever thought there were. So drilling's been going on in this city for a long time. I think that people get mixed up between what is hydraulic fracturing, what is injection wells, and all of that. And I think that what we need to do is know what we are talking about when we start setting the restrictions for the city from a standpoint of the oil industry and the drilling. And the where is us, the how belongs to the state and the federal government.
And related to that, it asks what economic and job effects would be felt if Stillwater enacted zoning rules that, in effect, ban drilling.
That's still part of the first question?
Well, there are so many questions related to this.
It's hard to answer compound questions.
Okay.
But I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
Economically, I just read or heard tonight that we're losing another 365 corporate jobs in Oklahoma City. We're going to lose jobs in Stillwater. If the price of oil and the oil industry slows down, it definitely affects every phase of employment in Stillwater from a standpoint of jobs that are related to the oil industry. That means we're going to lose sales tax. We're going to lose business in our current businesses, our hotels. So we will see a major economic decline if the oil industry shuts down.
Okay, thank you very much, Chuck. And Gina, then it's a two-pronged question. First, what is your opinion of zoning restrictions for oil and gas drilling near residences? And what would be the economic impact?
Cities have been issuing zoning ordinances since cities began. And I am in favor of setbacks that take oil and gas a little bit further away from houses. Our job as city councilors is to protect citizens and their property. And I don't think anyone would like something just right up in their backyard. So I think it's important that we have setbacks. As far as the economic impact, I don't think that we can know that yet. I know that oil and gas is a big impact in our state, and it's an important impact, but we have to learn how to live together, and we have to be able to protect people's property.
Okay, thank you. No, all questions must be in writing. If you have a question in writing, you can pass that to a league member. Okay, related to this, this is, what is your position on the pending, and this would go to Chuck. What is your position on the pending ordinance before the City Council to set restrictions on oil gas operations? More generally, are you in favor of the ability of the local government entities to pass ordinances to protect citizens? I know that is related.
Well, you know, it'd be foolish for me to say that we don't have the responsibility of setting ordinance for the citizens of Stillwater. But if you relate that to the gas and oil industry, then there are certain limitations that we will face in those ordinances. As I stated earlier, the city can set the ordinances for offset. They can determine where they can drill. They can determine the zoning. But when you go beyond that, then the city doesn't have the responsibility, or let me rephrase that. The city can set those, but I doubt very seriously that they would last because, as I have indicated, we can determine where they drill any offsets, but the state of Oklahoma and the federal government determines how they drill and what they drill. And if we're going to work that, we need to set a procedure in place to talk to other people rather than the city council.
Okay, thank you. Gina?
Can you repeat the question?
What is your position on the pending ordinance before the City Council to set restrictions on oil gas operations? More generally, are you in favor of the ability of local government entities to pass ordinances to protect the citizens?
I'm definitely in favor of protecting the citizens, and zoning is one way to do that. There isn't a pending ordinance that the City Council has even heard yet. It's gone through Planning Commission, but it's been stopped. So I don't know what's proposed. I want to hear what people have to say. That's my number one priority, is to be able to hear what citizens want us to do. So zoning is important, and I think it's the city's obligation to do zoning ordinances. The state of Oklahoma and people in Oklahoma value limited government. Cities make the best choices about zoning, not the state. And I don't want to have to, I don't think we should wait for the state. What might be, we need to do what is best for Stillwater. And that's why I voted the way I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, more specifically, Chuck, what would you suggest about a minimum distance from a residence for a permit to be issued for a drilling site?
I think that I want to respond to that of what I was taught when I went through my training to be a member of the council. We have a city attorney that looks up all that information for the council. I could come up with some things that I would believe, but in order to do that, I don't know if it's going to meet the guidelines that's set up for handling those things. It is my understanding that 660 feet would be a reasonable offset in protected areas, and that's our churches, schools, hospitals, those things of that nature. And then the other thing, as I stated earlier, would depend upon the zoning that we would set in place for the lands that is industrial and agriculture, and that requires a whole different outlook on it because of the amount of space that's available to them. So I don't know how to answer something when nothing has been determined and given advice to us by our attorney. I will repeat this. I learned when I went through that if we would follow the advice of the attorney, we would never be in trouble as an individual member of this council. And that's what I try to do. I don't know what is going to be recommended. I haven't had the privilege of seeing that.
Okay, and we are alternating questions. Gina, would you respond to that question? What would you suggest about a minimum distance from a residence for a permit to be issued for a drilling site?
It's been said that reasonable is 660 feet, but what's really reasonable? How do you even define reasonable? I know that the Hickman bill that went forward yesterday or today has reasonable in it, so I don't know how to judge that, but I think more than 1,000 feet, because you have to deal with lights and noise and fumes and trucks, and I don't want to hurt the oil and gas industry at all. We're not regulating the oil and gas industry. We're just saying respect people's homes and respect people who have to live in those homes. And we've heard through email and some other avenues that some people have to move from their bedrooms because they can't sleep because of the lights and the noise. Something can be done that's common sense. We just need to use common sense. People can't pick up their houses and move.
Okay, thank you. I know there are a lot of strong feelings about this issue, but we have a lot of other issues that are important. And Gina, you may start with this one. The council was given 2 models for development of the city block downtown for economic development. Which proposal do you support and why?
I like local developers, and I like the development that talked about retail and restaurants and urban housing, and I don't think a convention center is the right thing to do downtown. I absolutely want to help downtown business grow and to spur economic development, and that's what we're trying to do. I think the best way to do that is to bring in more retail, to attract more people downtown, and to make it an entertainment slash more shopping, more restaurants. That's what the overwhelming majority of people said in email and phone calls to me, is that they would rather have the shopping and the housing. And I support that. Plus, I support local developers. And I think they have our best interest at heart. And they love Stillwater just like we do. And so I'm excited to talk about that.
Okay, thank you. Chuck?
Well, in the first place, as I understand, neither of the participants on a model that wrote to the proposal did write to the proposal. So the model that was outlined in the proposal, it was my understanding that neither entity had a proposed process that would address all the things. A convention center and a hotel, it sounds really good. Matter of fact, I will tell you that I probably started the idea that we needed a convention center in Stillwater. But after you do your research on that, you'll find that hotels and convention centers have not worked in many cities our size. And the other information that I have gleaned from that is that 85% of the convention centers on the average are used about 85% of the time. And the average attendance of those is 85 people. Now that doesn't mean you would not have some big conventions, but you could have some small ones. It costs a lot of money, and it's also my understanding that once you use up your depreciation, or it depreciates, then cities are often called upon to remodel those convention centers. And the main thing I want to tell you, I don't want to get us in trouble of having to move in and take over. I think we need to study what we want to do a little bit and make our decisions based on facts, not other things.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and this time we'll start with you, Chuck. What do you think the 1.5 cent sales tax that expires in 2016 should be raised to?
Well, modest. I'd like to tell you I'd like to see it raised a bunch because we got so many roads that needs to be fixed. But I don't think that if we ask the people to raise it, I don't think that we ought to ask them to raise it where our sales tax would be more than 10%. I don't think it even ought to be to 10%. So if we raise it another 0.5 cent, that's approximately where it'll be. So I would say if we want to raise it, a modest thing may be 1/4 of a cent. That would give us 3/4 of a cent to work on roads, but no way will that meet our needs for the kind of conditions and stuff that we have on our roads. We need more money than that.
Okay, thank you. Gina?
I don't know that we need to raise the sales tax. I think we need to dedicate it for 5 more years. We absolutely need to renew it.
That was not the question.
We've had $33 million since 2001, since the sales tax that was dedicated to this. $33 million into our roads. And by the time it's done, we will have $40 million. We spend $7 to $8 million a year. 4.5 of it is from the sales tax, and the city puts in more money. There's a new plan that we're working on that will be presented soon that says let's spend some more money, more of the city's money, plus, but we have to renew the sales tax to be able to do that. Do you know we have 442 lane miles in Stillwater? If you stretch them out from here, they would go all the way to Albuquerque. We have a lot of roads. And yes, we have a lot, we need to fix a lot of them. And we've been working on it. We've made a lot of progress. It just takes time.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I thought the question was, what would we recommend it be raised to if we recommended it be raised?
And your answer was?
I don't think it needs to be raised.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and we'll start with Gina. Yeah, okay. Most college university towns have well-maintained and developed paved bicycle paths. As mayor, will you try to get a paved system of bike paths which at least connect our parks and allow us to bike north to south and east to west?
We do need more bike lanes, and the 2016 half-cent sales tax is going to deal with mobility issues. It's not just about cars. We need to deal with bike lanes and sidewalks, and yes, we need more bike lanes, and we need better ways to get around this town, and I'm definitely in favor of it. In fact, I'm in favor of complete streets, which should be presented soon, and it talks about all of the different areas that we need to work on our streets, which include bike lanes, and it includes the sidewalks, like I said, and it includes pavement and pavement management. So we have a good pavement management in place, but yes, we need more bike lanes.
Okay, Chuck.
Well, sure, I favor bike lanes, and yes, we need more bike lanes. But I want to go back to the resources we have used that, you know, if you look at the major things that we got in this city, someplace somebody's going to have to set priorities. And those priorities are things that we're going to have to work to get fixed. We talked just a minute ago about streets and roads. It's my understanding from the information that was provided me by the city that it's going to cost $141 million over the next 40 years to fix roads. So where's our priority going to be then? If you take money away, something's got to give. Now, I think that we need to work to set the priorities. If bike is what we want, that's what the constituents want, and they don't want the roads, then that's what we ought to do. But I think that you have to, at some point, make decisions that are hard decisions and are not always the popular decisions, but resources is part of the problem that we face. So, yeah, I would like to see everything connected up that we started with our plan, and we have a plan. And if we have dollars that are available, we can apply those dollars to more bike lanes.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, and we will start with you, Chuck. Explain what funding method you would use to bring our city streets and water and sewer lines in line with the quality of life we desire.
Well, I think we got several sources that we can use. And there again is that we need to look at what our funding sources available to do. One of the first things that we look at naturally is the revenue that we generate from the rates that we charge the people for the water. We have raised those rates over the 6 years that I was in the council. But at the time I left, we were told that we would not have to raise those rates any further. Councilman Weaver and I went out when we were voting the bond issue, when people asked us about roads and the water issue, what was the position we had, because why weren't we including that in the bond issue? Well, we were told we wouldn't need any more money. So now all of a sudden, I understand that a study's been done and that it is going to be recommended that water rates be raised considerably. I'm not voting on that yet. I don't know if it's going to be voted on before I get there, but I have a lot of problem with it, I'll tell you. The other source that I would recommend that we look at, we have almost no ad valorem tax base or ad valorem debt right now. I think that capital bonds is a way that we can offset some of the costs that would be affiliated with both roads and the water.
Okay, thank you. Gina?
Well, we have limited funding sources. And Water 2040 provided a plan to pay for our water system. It paid for, I believe, 23 projects. Most of them are out west, but we have other infrastructure that needs to be fixed. It's old. It must be fixed. Every day we have leaks. It's expensive. No one wants to raise rates. I don't want to raise rates. We have heard a consultant, but we haven't talked about it before City Council, but it's a tough decision and we're going to have to make it. How are we going to do it? We have limited funding to do it. We have to figure out a way. It's our obligation. It's the city's obligation to fix the water and to make sure that we don't pass it on to our kids. We have to do it. I don't know. I've asked the city staff to make a presentation to tell me all of the merits and all of the negatives of all of the different ways we can fund, because it is a tough decision, but City Council has to make that tough decision, and we will need more input.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and we're starting with you this time. What are your thoughts on if you believe there are any conflicts with serving as both City Council Mayor and as a trustee of Stillwater Utility Authority?
The SUA trust indenture is written so that only elected officials can serve. So no, I don't think there are conflicts. But I know that several people there's a lot of misinformation out there, and a lot of people have questions, and I think that we do need to address those questions. It was set up over 30 years ago, and it's been that way. A lot of cities are like that. Edmond and Norman and Broken Arrow and Enid, Ponca City. Oklahoma City and Tulsa are not like that, but they don't run a utilities authority. It was set up like that because there's a lot of overlap in what a city councilor does and what a trustee does. So no, I don't think there's conflict, but I do want to address all the misinformation, and I want people to feel okay. And if they don't feel okay about this, we need to address it.
Okay, then, Chuck, what are your thoughts on conflicts serving as a mayor and trustee of Stillwater Utilities Authority?
Well, no, there's no conflict with the mayor nor the council, in my opinion.
Okay.
But let me explain why. If we elect officials that we are supposed to, or that we should elect, that are individuals that do have the citizens in mind, that they know how to run the city from a standpoint of all the things that we've got available under the SUA. It would be extremely difficult to have a board operating outside of the SUA to be able to come in and do it. There's an overlap from the information that we react to as the city and as the council and different than SUA. We're also unique in the fact that we're one city, not all the cities, that have electric utilities that they provide for, that they generate electricity. So I don't think the mayor has any conflict. I don't think the council has any conflict. And I just say that we need to continue to elect responsible individuals to the positions.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll start with you, Chuck. And this question, in the past year, the City Council has focused on issues of quality of life by introducing ideas like smoking bans, bike lanes, and signage improvement. Name one simple idea that you believe could significantly improve daily life in Stillwater.
Ban smoking for the whole city. From my one and that may be a negative statement, but that would save a lot of health issues if we could do those kind of things. I define quality of life much different than a lot of people are defining it, and I'll tell you why. I think quality of life is everything that we do within the city, everything that we do. And I believe, first of all, that we have so many good things in this city that constitute quality of life that it is difficult to pick out one small thing and say, that's quality of life. We have good schools, we have good churches, we have good civic activities, we have good hospitals and health care, and I can go on. We have good recreational, we have cultural activities. So where are we lacking? When industry comes to town, they want to say quality of life. I think if they choose Stillwater, they got great quality of life. Now, can we improve some areas? Yes. We can develop some more sports complexes, but it doesn't have to cost $22 million. We can look at the things that we want to do. You know, you brought up what one thing, could you ban smoking and so forth? Sure, you can set that, but did you realize how hard that is to enforce? We could say you couldn't even smoke in the parks, which we do. Still, it's hard to enforce. For everything that you do, that you bring some rule or regulation, you ask people to take care of that and enforce it, and guess what that does to the city budget? It adds people and personnel. And so you have to study what you do. Is it worth the effort? And if not, don't do it. If it does, do it.
Okay, Gina.
If I have to pick one thing, which that was the question, correct?
Right. Name one simple
One-
idea that you believe could significantly improve.
Economic development. Because with economic development, it becomes more sales tax, which helps our roads, helps everything in the city. It helps our revenue. It brings new jobs, and we need to bring more jobs, more diverse jobs that offer living wages and benefits. That helps everything and everybody. We need to increase our site locations when these bigger companies are coming into Stillwater to look. I work on one of the economic development committees, and it's very important that we have site-ready locations. We also have a great talent pool that we need to convince to stay here. OSU and Meridian and even Stillwater Public Schools, they produce great talent. We have the great talent pool, and we need to be able to have those living wage jobs. So in my opinion, economic development ties into everything, and it makes everything better. Now, I could go on, but that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and we will start with you this time, Gina. Do you believe using surplus income from water fees is a fair and appropriate method for financing city government? And if so, explain why.
Well, I think that's a little bit of a loaded question, but I will do my best. The SUA was set up to make revenue, and it does have extra revenue. Our sales tax brings in in 2014, our sales tax brought in about $29 million. But last year, our budget was $100 million. You have to somehow balance. Now, we didn't add all that money. We have other money, too. I think we added $13 million, 13.9 from SUA, to pay for services that maybe don't make money, but we still need them. Are we going to cut out the Humane Society because it doesn't make money? No, we need to fund that. There are just certain city services we have to fund. Being fiscally responsible is really important. But I don't know how that we cut down on, we're just going to have to look at budget, and we need to be able to think about using less and less of the SUA. But I don't know how to use none of it.
Okay, Chuck.
Well, first of all, there's lots of misconceptions about the transfer of money from the SUA into the operational budget. What I understand we try to do as a city is that we try to make everything pay its way. And when you look at it, I have people that's criticizing, and they don't realize the fact that a lot of the employment of the city is in the SUA, and you have to transfer the money into the budget to be able to do that. Yes, we use some of the funds, but I want to answer the question, should we charge rate increases to fund extra money for the city? Not if we don't need it. I think we have an obligation to the citizens to not spend that money foolishly. And I don't believe that we do, but I think all the money that you see transferred from the SUA into the city budget are things that goes to help offset the cost that it takes the city to operate the SUA.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and we will start with you, Chuck. There were several questions about the 5 pillars, those are the areas of focus identified by the City Council in their vision of Stillwater. This question says it didn't include residential neighborhoods. Should the quality of residential neighborhoods play an important role in any vision of Stillwater?
Well, of course. It should play a role, the neighborhoods. And I think that individuals that live in any kind of a neighborhood, if they choose to form a neighborhood association or a home association, then they can have the ability to do that, which they can set their standards, and then they can have those covenants, and they can enforce it to have it a better community to live in. I also think one of the things that we're not doing as good a job as we should, I'd like to see this city made more beautiful. I'd like to see some of the things that affects neighborhoods cleaned up. I'd like to see some things that need to be repaired. Now, you can't actually go out and do that and make them do it, but you can do things like Guthrie has done. I don't want to get this far, so don't read me wrong, but Guthrie says, hey, if you don't improve them, we're going to tear them down. So that's not improving the neighborhood from a standpoint of where people live, but it's improving the looks of our city if something is so bad that we need to do that. I believe in neighborhood association to answer you.
Okay, thank you. Gina, what? Okay.
Strengthening and supporting neighborhoods has been one of my top priorities. Neighborhoods are the lifeline of the city, and we have some many great, diverse neighborhoods. I have proposed that we start some kind of neighborhood association where we get the leaders from each HOA and each neighborhood group, bring them together to the city, and let them meet. Let them tell us what they need, what they want, what their concerns are, and let them help us communicate better with people in neighborhoods. I believe in trying to increase our communication to citizens and get them more involved, and I think using neighborhoods is a great way to do it. And also maybe we can start some kind of neighborhood grant program for beautification. Neighborhoods are vitally important. And when people move here, they look at different neighborhoods and what fits them. We have neighborhoods of all economic levels, and I respect all of them, and I support all of them.
Okay, thank you. This is not a loaded question, and Gina, we'll start with you. As the mayor, are you willing yourself to have quarterly hearing sessions where the public can come and ask you questions? Absolutely.
I value public input, and that's one of the things that I want to increase. It's a two-way street. People getting involved with government. We can do a better job. People can do a better job. I know people get involved when they're upset about something or when they need something, and people are busy, I know that. But it's really important to me to be able to understand more of what you want and what you need. We need to make every decision based on that. It's your city. And so absolutely I'm willing to. I would be thrilled to meet with people quarterly. I wish more people would come to town hall meetings right now. This last downtown development that we've been discussing lately, I am thrilled because we have received more feedback on that. People are so interested and they are willing to tell us what they want, and that's the way we need to be leading city government, is with what you need, what you want.
Okay, Chuck.
Yes, I would be willing to hold quarterly, but I'd also ask my fellow councilmen to be there with me. Because you remember, you can talk a lot of things about the mayor, and I don't want to stand up here and promise you, or sit up here and promise you something I couldn't deliver. But if we have the whole council hearing those things, the mayor has one vote in our form of government in Stillwater. So it's important for every one of the council persons to hear what's going on from a standpoint of public hearings. I agree with Gina. It would do my heart good to see a large number of individuals show up when we have public hearings or when we have forums in any way that represents anything that the citizens of Stillwater want to talk about. Hey, you don't know how disgusting it is to have a meeting called on a key issue and you sit there and you're ready and you take your time and you look out there and there may be 6 or 8 people. There may be 20, but look at the citizens of Stillwater, ought to be 200 or 300 there telling you. And the input that you get sometimes comes from people who have a biased interest in what you're talking about, and you get one side that comes in and then you get the other side that comes in, and then you have to weigh what really is the issues that they're talking about. But I do support anything that we can do to get more public input into the governance of the city of Stillwater. We need it.
Okay, thank you. You know, you both have alluded to things that are important to you, but this questioner asks, please share your vision for the comprehensive long-range development of Stillwater. And Chuck, you can start with that one.
Well, if you people really knew me, you'd know one of the first things that I talk about, no matter what, that I talk about planning. I made my professional career being a planner for the Oklahoma Department of Career and Vocational Education. And so I definitely believe in long-range planning. The cliche that I use often, and I've always used it, 2 of them, I'll give you the first one. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And progress can only be measured towards what we're trying to make progress toward. Now, that's one of them. And so I want to see long-range plan. Now, my vision for that is that I want to see the infrastructure fixed, and that's going to take major, major issues and major, major time, and we got to devote that. We need to look at economic development. That is a very, very important issue, and one that I take seriously. I belong to the Chamber of Commerce. I've sat on economic development plans with them. I have background from the standpoint I sat on the governor's Rural Development Task Force for Economic Development. So, yeah, I want to see economic development. I want to see quality of life. I want to see the infrastructure fixed. I want to see the things that we need from the standpoint of governance, from a standpoint that we're looking at generating electricity. So all of those things to me are very important in my vision. But the main thing I want to see Stillwater be a place that people want to come and live and grow their family.
Okay, thank you. Gina?
I want Stillwater to be a place where our kids want to stay and where OSU students want to stay. where there are good living wage jobs, where there's good economic development, good thriving local businesses, a good thriving downtown. I want to have a lot of different neighborhoods that people can choose from, a lot of different housing options. I want to we're such a good education community, and we just need to keep building on that. We've got OSU, we've got Meridian, we've got Career Tech, we've got Stillwater Public Schools. Not many communities can say that. I want to keep supporting the education in this town. And I want to be able to have good places for people to live and quality jobs for people to live, because I want my son and I want his friends and I want his kids to want to stay here. Stillwater's a great place to work, play, and stay.
Okay, thank you. This question would start with Gina. There have been recent discussions on getting more people involved, and you've mentioned that, by discussing why residents are not giving input and serving on city government boards and committees. What do you see as a hurdle for why people aren't getting involved in these things, and what is one idea to improve and cultivate trust, collaboration, and productivity in our city?
I kind of alluded to this a minute ago, but
Yeah.
I think the hurdle is just because we're all so busy. And when the government is running smoothly like it has the past couple of years, it's just easy to let us do our jobs and to be able to go about your business. It's usually when something happens that people get involved. The hurdle is definitely communication, and the city does a good job of communication, but of course, we can always do a better job. I think that we need to start with, like I said before, the neighborhoods, where we're reaching out to the neighborhood leaders so they can help us get our message out. Use the business leaders more to help us get our message out. And start some type of an online citizen group where you apply to get in, you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then when we need input, all we have to do is click, and you will be asked to give us your input. We need more input. We're always saying it. So we just have to try different things, social media, and different kinds of online groups. And then, of course, face-to-face. Face-to-face. There's nothing like meeting someone and hearing their opinions and their wants and needs.
Okay, thank you. Chuck?
Repeat the question, please.
Okay. There have been recent discussions on getting more people involved by discussing why residents are not giving input and serving on city government boards and committees. What do you see as a hurdle for why people aren't getting involved, and what is one idea to improve and cultivate trust, collaboration, and productivity?
Well, first place, you want an open style of government. What I have been told, we are a republic form of governance in this city. That means that you, the people, elects us as representative, mayor, whatever you elect, and you look to us then to have the knowledge base and do the research to make the decisions that is going to be in the best interest of Stillwater. One reason that people may not come to the meetings is that they have confidence in that. And that, in my opinion, I don't think I want to run for an office that I can't have confidence of the people. I'll tell you another thing, that if you'll circulate in this community, is that the people don't always come to the meeting, but they'll always tell you what they would like to see happen to the city of Stillwater. You make different kinds of groups, you go to different kinds of meetings, you work to do that, and then if you'll do your research, you'll find from a database that you can make the kind of decisions that people want you to make. If we have to turn every time we turn around to the people, why do you elect us? Why do you elect us? that I believe that we get data and we get input, but I also believe that if they don't trust you, they shouldn't elect you.
Okay. This next question deals with really sales taxes, but it's internet sales. And it asks, as mayor, and though that is not a local issue, as mayor, would you support a city resolution requesting our senators and representatives to pass legislation to collect sales taxes on all internet sales?
You bet.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gina?
Well, use tax is one way to make extra money, and there's a proposal out there right now called the Fair Market Bill. It's a federal, which will deal with that. I do believe that use tax would be helpful in being able to supplement our budget, but I would need to hear more about it and more about the proposal and see hear what other city councilors have to say as well.
Okay. Thank you. Chuck, I think this probably will be our final question before we get to the closing remarks, but name the 3 most important challenges facing Stillwater today.
Water, roads, and sewer, and economic development.
Okay.
And 4, but that's...
That's okay. All right. Gina?
A solid and diverse economic base. That's always a challenge. It's always an opportunity too, though. Infrastructure. Fixing the water. Absolutely. Roads. And I just went to 4 too.
Okay. Then I think the other questions, we have a few questions here, but many of them are regarding things that have been asked before about zoning and fracking, and I think you have addressed those questions. We will move to the closing remarks, and the candidate that responded last on opening was Gina. So you will respond first in your closing remarks.
Okay. For the past hour, or almost hour, you've been listening to my ideas. If I'm elected mayor, I'm going to listen to your ideas. That's what I've done for the past 2 years as a city councilor, and what I'll continue to do. I have the experience to seamlessly transition from city councilor to the mayor. I'm a hard worker and I'm a problem solver, and I believe in teamwork. You know, you elect officials and we do the business of the city, but we also need to be more than that. We need to provide the vision and the leadership, and we need to create the partnerships. That's our jobs. I can do that. I do that all the time. I know how to work well with people. And I want to build teamwork between the citizens, between the city council, between businesses, between organizations. We're all in this together. And the better teamwork we have, the more we can move Stillwater forward. It's just that simple. I have the motivation, I have the desire, and I have the energy for the next 3 years to be your mayor. I want to represent your voice. I know I work for you. Your voice starts at the polls. And I hope you'll vote for me either tomorrow, early voting, or on April 7th. And thank you for coming here and showing that you care about Stillwater. It's nice to see.
And Chuck,
Well, let's talk about experience. Is that I have 6 years' experience as being a councilman. I have 5 years' experience being the vice mayor. I think I know a little bit about what a mayor does. I also have a proven record of being a leader in organizations. I've been an active member to promote economic development in this community by being on the Chamber of Commerce. I think that the people of the city of Stillwater know me, and I believe that they would tell you that I was a progressive and I was a councilman that they could talk to, and that I did my job thoroughly and I did all my research on issues. I have 30 years experience in doing planning, and I will assure you I have been a good planner in my career, and you can check my credentials if you wish to. I have served on many economic development processes, and so I think that that would give me an insight on that. I work well with the city staff because I think that is also equally important, and that you do your homework there. I know the infrastructure. I know how to hire people. I'm a trained assessor. I've served as national president of the American Vocational Association. I've served as state president of the Oklahoma Retired Educators. I've been on several more chairmans nationally. I've written federal legislation. I've written state legislation. I have gone down and worked and lobbied for cities as well as all the institutions that I have represented through the years. So I know how to get the job done. I'm a proven leader. I'm progressive, and I have all the time in the world to work for Stillwater. I just happen to be retired, and I love this city. I love this city. And if I didn't love this city, I don't know why I'd want to go for 9 years to help guide it rather than 6 years. I want to be your mayor because I think there's things that I can contribute that will help this city grow. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to thank the candidates because this concludes our candidates forum this evening. So I'll thank the candidates, Chuck Hopkins and Gina Noble, and the City of Stillwater, Patty, for their facilities, and all those who participated with questions this evening. Don't forget to vote on April the 7th, but you can also vote early on Friday or Saturday.
Not Saturday.
You can't vote on Saturday?
No, ma'am, not anymore.
Okay, on Friday, you can vote tomorrow, Friday, at the Payne County Election Board on the second floor of the County Administration Building on the corner of 6th and Duck in Stillwater. Remember to bring a photo ID, and if you have questions, you can phone the Election Board at 405-747-8350 or the League of Women Voters website, www.lwv.stillwater.org. Thank you and good night.